Most people think billionaires start with rich families, lucky breaks, and a perfect plan. But every once in a while, a story comes along that destroys that idea completely. A story that proves a person can lose everything, sleep in their car, get rejected 100 times, and still build something so big it changes an entire industry. This is the unbelievable story of John Paul DeJoria, a man who went from being homeless on the streets of Los Angeles to becoming the billionaire co-founder of Paul Mitchell Hair Care and Patrón Tequila. A man whose life reminds us that success isn't always about where you start, but how hard you're willing to fight when life hits back. John Paul didn't grow up in the comfortable suburbs or surrounded by opportunity. He grew up in a tough neighborhood in Los Angeles with a single mother who worked constantly just to keep the lights on. By the time he was 9, he was already selling Christmas cards door to door to help his family survive. He later said those early experiences didn't just teach him sales, they taught him rejection. He said, by the time I was 10, I already knew that no just means keep going. Life didn't magically get easier. At 17, he joined the Navy because he didn't see many other options. When he came back home, he bounced between odd jobs: mechanic, insurance salesman, even working at a cemetery. But nothing really stuck. Then came the moment that would change everything, but not in the way he hoped. One day he came home to discover that his wife had left him. She took their son. She left only a note and almost no money. He had $820 in the bank, and that had to keep him alive. He fought legally for custody, worked any job he could find, and eventually got his son back. But with no stable income and bills falling apart, he and his infant son ended up living in his car. Not in the dramatic Hollywood sense, the real-life sense where you're choosing between gas or food, and you hope no one notices you sleeping in a beat-up old vehicle. He said he remembers sitting in that car at night thinking, if I ever make it out of this, I'll never forget what it felt like to have nothing. Instead of giving up, he found small sales jobs just to buy diapers and formula. One of those jobs was selling hair care products. And this is where everything begins. While working in the beauty industry, John Paul met a man who was as broke as he was, but had one priceless thing: talent. His name was Paul Mitchell, a brilliant Scottish hairdresser with revolutionary ideas about salon products. Mitchell knew how to create world-class formulas. John Paul knew how to sell anything to anyone. Together, they had everything except money. To start the company, they needed investment. They tried everything: banks, friends, family, and got rejected every time. Finally, one friend agreed to loan them $700. Not 700,000. 700. They didn't have enough money for marketing. They didn't have money for fancy bottles. They didn't even have an office. They filled the first Paul Mitchell bottles by hand, slapped on simple black and white labels because color was too expensive. And John Paul went door to door to salons trying to convince owners to give the products a chance. Most said no, some laughed, some told him he'd never make it, but he kept going. He refused to quit. He refused to accept that homelessness meant hopelessness. Finally, one salon owner said yes. Then another. Then another. Word spread. Stylists noticed the quality. Customers loved the results. The brand began growing one salon at a time. Slowly, stubbornly, relentlessly. Paul Mitchell became the first hair care company to create professional systems for salons. Shampoo, conditioner, styling products, all meant to work together. It sounds normal today, but at the time, it was groundbreaking. Stylists trusted the brand because it was made by a stylist. Customers trusted the brand because it truly worked, and sales exploded. By the late 1980s, Paul Mitchell was no longer a small startup. It was a force in the beauty industry, making millions and earning loyalty across America. But John Paul DeJoria wasn't done. In 1989, he came across another opportunity: ultra-premium tequila. At the time, Americans didn't understand high-end tequila. Most people saw it as cheap alcohol for college parties or bad decisions on a Friday night. But John Paul tasted something different. He believed that tequila could be luxurious, refined, world-class. So he partnered with Martin Crowley to create Patrón Tequila. the first super premium tequila brand in the United States. People told him he was crazy. They said Americans will never buy expensive tequila. They said no one wants a fancy bottle. They said this won't work. John Paul smiled, not because the criticism didn't hurt, but because he'd heard it all before. The tequila was slow crafted in small batches, using old-school stone ovens and hand-crushed agave. The bottles were handmade glass. The brand looked expensive, tasted expensive, and most importantly, felt expensive. Patrón didn't just sell tequila. It sold a lifestyle, a feeling, a story. And it worked. Within a few years, Patrón became the best-selling premium tequila in the United States. Eventually, it became a global symbol of luxury. In 2018, the brand was sold to Bacardi for $5.1 billion, one of the largest spirits deals in history. From sleeping in a car to building $2 billion empires. But here's the part of the story many people miss. John Paul DeJoria never forgot what it felt like to have nothing. He always said, success unshared is failure. So he put millions into charity, environmental projects, homeless support programs, and education. He funded shelters, created job programs, and supported hundreds of initiatives across the country. He became the kind of person he needed when he was homeless. Most billionaires stay in private islands. John Paul would personally show up at homeless centers and help serve meals. Why? Because he remembered sleeping in that car. He remembered choosing between gas and food. He remembered the shame of being ignored, and he promised he would never ignore others. Today, John Paul DeJoria is considered one of the greatest American entrepreneurs of all time. Not because he built billion-dollar brands, many people have done that, but because he built them from absolutely nothing. From pure willpower. From hunger, literally and figuratively. His life is living proof that one moment of homelessness doesn't define you. One setback doesn't destroy you. One no doesn't end your future. Everything he achieved came from resilience, humility, and a refusal to quit. He once said, "You don't lose until you quit trying." And maybe that's the real message behind his story. Not that anyone can become a billionaire, but that anyone can rise again. Anyone can survive the impossible. Anyone can create a life better than the one they were born into. He was homeless. He was broke. He was told no more times than he could count. And he still built 2 legendary American brands. This isn't a business lesson. It's a human lesson. A reminder that no matter how dark things look today, your story isn't over. And your comeback might be bigger than you ever imagined.